How are you? Okay, we're going to
I'm
start recording now. So welcome to
uh
everybody as well on Facebook, and thanks for joining us on this World Teachers Day. So Lucy, can you tell me where you're joining us from today?
Yep, I'm joining you from Castellón in Spain.
Brilliant. Okay,
hmm
fantastic. Before we start, I'm going to just tell the audience a little bit about you. We're really pleased to have you here
hmm
today for this session. So this is Lucy Amelia Durance. She's an infant teacher and international school in Spain, in Castellón. She's also a language department coordinator and also leads the reading community in her school. She's got a master's in bilingual education and is passionate about teacher and teacher training, particularly around the topics of reading, stories, and creativity, which is what this session is all about. So we're really excited to hear more about this, Lucy. And I know you've got lots of ideas to share. So I'm going to hand over to you now. If you've got any questions, then I'm here to help you, okay? But I'll be back at the end for the Q&A. So enjoy the session and happy World Teachers Day, everyone.
Wonderful. So good morning and happy World Teachers Day. I'm going to talk about what we can teach with stories. So first of all, the plan of action for today is to begin with some storytelling icebreakers. Why tell stories in the language classroom? My bad storytelling techniques, which are too good to be true. Digital storytelling techniques with the promotion of sustainable development goals through storytelling, and gender roles and cultural roles within folk tales. And then we'll have time for questions. And if your questions do go unanswered, please contact me after the event. So we're going to begin with a little icebreaker. I know that you've already introduced yourselves in the chat, but we're going to play a little game. So I'd just like you to type in your name, where you are from, and what you like. So my name is Lucy. I'm from Lincoln and I like lemonade. So can we see different people in the chat where they are from? Oh, it's not coming through for me. Oh, I don't know if I can see. Okay. So Corinne from Italy likes, oh gosh, I've missed what she likes. I can't remember what Corinne said, dark chocolate. However, Corinne is not really from Italy. She's from Croatia and she doesn't like dark chocolate. She likes cats. Can anyone guess how the game works here? Because I'm from I'm from Lincoln. My name is Lucy and I like lemonade. But I'm very lucky because my name begins with L, so I can be from Lincoln. However, Corinne cannot be from Italy because she has to be from a country beginning with C. Okay, so this is a great way to just get the students warming up, thinking about using the language. We can then play, I don't know if you're familiar with the game. My grandmother went shopping and she bought some apples. And then we move on and we say, my grandmother went shopping and she bought some apples and some bananas. And then the next student has to remember, my grandmother went shopping and she bought some apples, some bananas, and some cakes. So we can do the same game by beginning with, my name is Corinne, I'm from Colombia and I like cats. And then we move on to her name. So we're practicing the third person is Lucy. She's from Lincoln and she likes lemonade. So we're also practicing the memory skills there. So it's a great game just to warm up. Okay, the following activity. So we have 5 more interesting storytelling name games. We have the making name badges or life story posters, learning about the story behind our names, the game Two Truths and a Lie, and name storybooks and partner presentation. So name badges. Recently, I bought myself a little badge machine. So you can buy yourself a badge machine like this, for example. Oh, okay. And I've actually chosen a frog here because I'm the teacher of the frogs at school. But I loved Michael Connolly's opening ceremony, and he spoke about, the technology. Well, I started learning languages in the last millennium. So yeah, I'm also quite old. And the technology we used was a folded piece of paper, And my French teacher, we wrote our English name on one side and the French name. My French name was Lucille, but as I live in Spain now, my Spanish name would be Lucia. So we can work on that. So really simple and very useful for language teachers that have to learn thousands of names at the start of the year or hundreds of names. So the life story, here we have my life story in a poster made on Canva, very useful product to use. We have that I was born in Lincoln. I used to go to ballet classes. I studied languages. I did my A-levels in English, literature, French and German. I then went to Bradford University and studied French and Spanish translation and interpreting. I then, during the summers, worked as an au pair in the Valencian community, so hence we have the Valencian paella, which is very hard for me to say paella in English, but because now I'm so used to saying paella. Wall Street, if you've been taking a guess there, I didn't actually go to Wall Street, unfortunately, but I worked for the Wall Street Academy. That was my first job here in Spain. Then I moved on to infant teaching. I did a master's in bilingual education, and here we are today for World Teachers Day. So the following activity, here we have the life story poster that we've created, and now we have the story behind my name. So I don't know if you're familiar with the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So I am Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. We have the light, because Lucy means light. When I was younger, my uncle bought me a keyring and it said that Lucy sparkles like champagne. My surname, is Durance, which is actually a river in the south of France, which I visited when I was younger. And if you look up Durance in the dictionary, it says that my name means, in Shakespearean English, oh, Durance Vile, which is in a prison. So we kind of think of myself as a trapped light. However, this summer I married Mr. Segura, which is a river in the south of Spain. So if I were to take the English surname, then, well, the English tradition, I would take his surname and I would have become Lucy Shaw, because that's a translation of Segura. But yes, so I am now free, and hopefully today my light will shine on you and all my ideas. So now, two truths and the lie. In the chat box, I would like you to select A, B, or C for which you believe is the lie about myself. So A, I overslept for work and was promoted. B, I've been offered jobs in a lift, on a train, and during a hospital appointment. Or C, Stephen Crescent helped me with my master's thesis. So what do we think could be the lie? Okay, Susanna says A, C, lots of C's, A, C, okay. We have Doris says A, so lots of A's, and we have a few C's. So the irony is, I don't think anyone has actually said B. I've been offered jobs in a lift. I've been offered jobs during a hospital appointment. However, I've never been offered a job on a train. However, I was once handed a love letter while traveling on a train. Unfortunately, I never replied to that love letter. So here we can do, has anyone seen the film Sliding Doors? The film Sliding Doors, we reflect on the different points of if you'd changed a split second in your life, what changes would have happened. So for example, we can then work on the conditionals. If I had replied to the boy on the train, and maybe I would have had 2.4 children, so the stereotypical life. However, as we will find out later today, I do not believe in stereotypes so much. And so I opted for the rocky road instead. So another option is to create a name storybook. For example, this year I have created this one. I'm going to try and show you this close up. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with the story Brown Bear, what do you see? So as I mentioned before, I'm the teacher of Frog, who do you see? The frog class. So we have I see, and then we use the Velcro name so we can recycle it for next year. Antonio looking at me. Well, we've got the surnames here because I have two. So we've got Gabrielle M and Gabrielle N. And then we go all the way through the story until we get to Vega. Vega, who do you see? I see the frog class looking at me. And then we have class, who do you see? We see Miss Lucy looking at us. We better be quiet. So yeah, it's also a great way to get the students listening to you during the class. Eyes. Oh, okay. So yeah, you can also create a book. For example, I've created books in the past inspired on the amazing mix and match mouseware, where you kind of flip through and you could do this with the names. So you can mix and match the different names, middle names and surnames, for example. Or I also did it one year with clothes, which was really good fun. And so we have the students in different clothes, dressing up like their friends. And you can also do that for Carnival, for example. And our final game would be the partner presentation game. So this is a really simple game. You divide your students into pairs or small groups. They have to interview each other. So what's your name? My name is Melissa. Where do you live? I live in Spain. And then they have to feed back to the whole group. So we're then practicing yet again the third person singular, which is so complicated in English. Although we only ask for one. It's not like learning French and Spanish and other languages that I have to learn all the different ones for I, you, he, she, it, we, they. I only ask for an S every now and again, but it would seem that that little S is quite tricky for people to remember. So which was your favorite storytelling name game? The making name badges, life story posters, the story behind your name. I then use this activity as well, but I get the students, I've even done it with 4-year-olds, I get the parents to hand me a quick summary of their students, of their child's name. And then we have to match, and I read out the names obviously because they're only 4, and we have to guess who we're talking about, and they love it, and it is a really successful activity. Did you like the 2 truths and a lie activity, the name storybook, or the partner presentation? So let me just see what people are saying in the chat there. Okay, so someone says there that they love all of them, but they prefer the first one. It's really useful. For Margaret says the name storybooks. Anna Maria says the partner presentation. Seni says that they all work for them. So yeah, they're all useful activities. And yeah, you can pick a mix and adapt to your age group as well. So I have had experience with all different ages. So yeah, I enjoy it. So now, why should we use stories in the language classroom? So here I have 4 different quotes, and I would like you to select your favorite reason to use stories in the language classroom. So we have 1, the richest learning experience comes from narrative by Jerome Bruner. We have storytelling is the, oops, I've covered over, the most powerful way to put ideas into the world today by Robert McGee. Oh. Storytelling is the oldest form. Oh, sorry. That's a sneaky preview. Storytelling is the oldest form of education by Terry Tempest Williams. Or picking up word meanings by reading is 10 times faster than intensive vocabulary instruction by Stephen Krashen. So I'm just going to try and open the chat box and see which ones people are saying they enjoy there. Oh, let's try and update. Okay, yeah. So, oh gosh, Lamy says number 2, yeah. Number 4, yeah, that's also my favorite. And then Salam and someone above, Diana, I think, said number 4. So yeah, okay, but they are all wonderful reasons to use stories in the classroom. So now that we know why we should use it, how can we do this? That terrible moment of, oh my gosh, I've got to use storytelling. How do I do this? It's not easy. My first experiences, especially with young learners, were quite complicated, but hopefully we can use my tips. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy. but he divides activities into low order thinking skills. So we begin by remembering, understanding, applying knowledge. And then the high order thinking skills. So when we begin thinking out of the box and using our creative thinking skills, we begin to analyze, evaluate, and finally, top of the pyramid there, we create. So I've created my own taxonomy for my bad storytelling technique. So we begin with building up the vocabulary. We brainstorm the vocabulary, the illustrations, and all the ideas we can get from the stories. We analyze them, we assess them. We finally, working on now our higher order thinking skills, we discuss them, and then drama. I'm a big, big fan of drama in the language classroom. So here you can see a quick comparison. There, as you can see, they're very similar ideas, so ways of building up that pyramid. And now we're going to begin to delve into our bad storytelling techniques. So our bad storytelling techniques work both vertically and horizontally. So horizontally, we have the before storytelling activities, the after storytelling activities, and the during storytelling activities, hence bad. And then, of course, we have the build and brainstorm, the analyze and assess moments, and the discuss and dramatize. So here we have the summary of what we're about to talk about. So don't worry yet. You can worry about that in a moment and see if you've managed to get all the ideas. So the first thing would be a cover description. So I forgot to mention the lovely book, The Name Jar, when learning about names, sorry. So here we have the book, Jack and the Beanstalk. This is a great book by Nick Sherratt. Okay, so we look at the cover, we describe it, and then, for example, using the cover is a great way to work on your phone. So here I have my lovely box of beans. So you just buy a plastic tub, fill it with beans, for example, and inside the box, you have your different letters. So here we have the J, the A, and then together here, we have the K. So we're doing our phonics and we're learning J, A, K, Jack. And then we can go on to say, and the beanstalk, and we can fish out different names. You can obviously adapt this using oats for Goldilocks and the Three Bears, for example. And it's really a quick and easy way, we're about to get beans all over the floor here, to do storytelling. Another activity is the mind map activity. Another book that I love is this one, Gender Swapped Fairy Tales. So we can look at the cover and we can begin a mind map. So things we can see the castle, we can see Rapunzel. However, instead of the princess trapped in the castle, we see the warrior princess going to save this poor, trapped in the tower. So another activity is the keyhole cover technique. So the technology I had back in the day was I went on a training course before I went to do my assistantship in France. And so we had the keyhole technique and working on activities with the overhead projector. Obviously, especially with the light here, it's very difficult. But I don't know if anyone is beginning to see an animal here. On this one, it's maybe slightly easier. And here, hopefully, you can see that we have a frog. So you just need a piece of cards. You don't even need to pass it through the OHP. And I also work on shapes, so you can cut a circle and have little circles, triangles, squares. Okay, so another lovely story, Boy Frog by Kes Bray. Okay. So that's our first build and brainstorm activity to get the students into storytelling before you begin. So next, analysing and assessing, making keyword predictions. Oh, another lovely book there is Zoom about perspective. Okay. So for example, I take my mystery box objects, and here we have, I don't know if anyone's guessing here in the chat box, but a tiger. And here we have a lovely cake and a teacup. So could anybody think of the story that we're talking about here? Let me see if anyone's guessing the title of this lovely, lovely story. Oh gosh, I'm not catching up with the chat here. Well done, Margaret Locke, The Tiger Who Came to Tea. Another wonderful story. So you can get your students with your mystery box, and we're exploring the vocabulary before we begin. So another idea, it is a lovely story, Karine, and 20 questions. So I don't know if you're familiar with this game, but the person who's it can say yes or no, nothing else. So, for example, we begin. Is the story a well-known tale? Yes, it is. Is the story about a person? Yes, it is. Let's see if you can guess my story here. Is there an animal in the story? Yes, there is. Is the main character in the story a boy? No, he isn't. So it's a story about a girl, a fairy tale about a girl. Is the story set in a forest? Yes, it is. Does the main character eat porridge? No, she doesn't. So well done, Amira. Wow, you even guessed Little Red Riding Hood. And I could have quite easily said, yes, the main character does eat porridge, in which case it would have been Goldilocks. So well done. And yes, Mohammed says chaperon rouge, which is the French word for Goldilocks. So yes, well done there, both of you. Fill in the blanks. A quick test for who was paying attention earlier. We have gender, tails. So who was paying attention to the title of one of my favorite books? Let me see. Oh, has anyone guessed the title? Oh, yeah. Gender Swapped Fairy Tales. Well done, Victoria and Zora there. Great work. Okay, and teamwork there. It's very important to promote teamwork in the classroom and collaborative learning. So let's continue. Another activity is to invent headlines for the stories. And so here we have, for example, I don't know if you can guess which story this would be a headline for, but will proud pigs defeat wicked wolves? So let's see who's guessing the title of that story. I think it should be quite easy. And I can see I have 3 new messages, but it's not showing me the messages. Oh, so yeah. Well done, Zany, the 3, well, little pigs. Yeah, I know, I imagine that was a typo. So yeah, well done, Amira, as well. So yes, it is the 3 little pigs. And now another activity that's really good fun is the Why Web questions. So here you need a ball of wool or yarn. You take the ball of wool and you throw it to your students and you feed them the wool. So we have, for example, why is the sky dark? So we look at the story cover and we say, the sky is dark because there's going to be a storm or something. Then we catch the wool, we throw it to someone else, and we ask another question, such as, why does she have a basket? So, for example, maybe she's going to visit her granny because it's Little Red Riding Hood, and the dark sky is in the dark, dark forest. So we throw the ball around the students until we form a spider's web. So hence the name Why Web Questions. I love doing this as well as a during storytelling activity or after storytelling activity. For Halloween, this month is Halloween, one of my favorite months of the year as an English language teacher. And we retell the story of there was an old lady who swallowed a fly, and there was an old lady who swallowed a fly, catch the wool, and we create a web as we're telling the story. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. And a wonderful rhyming story to get the students learning and memorizing. And then we have the performance. So, as Michael Conley said, during lockdown, it was actually quite good for teachers reinventing themselves. And I definitely reinvented myself as a teacher during lockdown and became a big fan of digital storytelling. So for example, here, well, this is actually post-lockdown, this first image, but last year I'm constantly renewing my ideas in the classroom, and I took my students, I don't know if you're familiar with the story, we're going on a bear hunt. So in the past, I've done, we're going on a bear hunt. I've also created my own, we're going on a polar bear hunt. And that was amazing because I was actually shopping one day and I found a polar bear costume for €5. I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time, but I bought it because I love this kind of thing. And I ended up dressing up my colleague. We'd bought a little white sensory tent, so we went on a polar bear hunt around the school, and at the end the polar bear came out and the kids loved it. And so last year I got the inspiration to set up a pumpkin hunt, and we took our students all around the classroom looking for pumpkins, all around the school gardens, and we went into the haunted house. I set up a slide area with bats hanging down. I made cardboard cats, and then in our school garden we put loads of pumpkins, so we went into the pumpkin patch. During lockdown, oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way now. Oops. Okay, we're going to share again. So I was saying, during lockdown, I invented Jack and the Beanstalk. Let's see if we can go back here. Let's slide back up. Sorry. So yes, and I dressed up as Jack and the Beanstalk, and then took photos using Pixar with big things like cups. And of course, my students were watching me and they were like, but how is it possible? And they were like, that's not possible, but it is you in the photo. And it was a hilarious moment. Then we have myself preparing the students for a storytelling about The Little Mermaid. We also have puppets are really useful, and the storytelling of the rainbow fish. So yeah, here we have also my puppet, Mr. Froggy. Okay, a great way to do storytelling. And I've just realized I forgot to mention all my great ideas when we were looking at the phonics idea. So here, for example, you can write the vocabulary, and this is a great one for Groundhog Day. This, the hammers stick on the cards, so you can put the different images here and hammer them out and have a game there with phonics. We have the fly swat game. Okay, so you can swap the different words or sounds with the fly swatter. And we have the fishing game. You can prepare this. You can make your own using magnets. Okay, and then you can write the sounds using a little erasable pen. Okay, so yes, I forgot to mention that. So yes, let's look at another moment for before storytelling. You've got your puppets. This is a great puppet set for the story of the 3 billy goats Gruff that I have. This is one that I made myself to do the storytelling of the hungry caterpillar. So I feed the hungry caterpillar different bits of food. Today he would like some cake. And then, of course, the hungry caterpillar becomes a chrysalis. So we send the hungry caterpillar to sleep. We ask him to wake up. Wake up, caterpillar. Wake up, caterpillar. Okay, I'm not doing this very well, but normally I tell my students to close their eyes as well. Okay, and then the caterpillar has become a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. Okay, so that's another great way. You can also use these little tiny finger puppets and set up a conversation. Oh, what do you think today's book's going to be about? And dressing up. We also have Little Red Riding Hood. My parents bought me this on their trip to London. So this is over 40 years old when I was a little girl. And a reversible doll, which is lovely, with Granny, the big bad wolf. Okay. This is a great one for phonics as well. You feed the big bad wolf and you can feed him phonics. And so you're spelling out the words cat. Okay. And you open up the tummy and you can get things. Dressing up time before storytelling. So we're part of the Froggy class. So we get our headbands. For Easter, we've got the Easter bunny coming along. Your students love superheroes. You've got your Wonder Woman costume. One of my friends actually said on my WhatsApp chat this morning, oh, Wonder Woman's going to be appearing soon. Little did she know that, of course, she is. Another friend knew what I'm like, so she said, wouldn't put it past her for Wonder Woman to appear. So, yeah, you can get all sorts of superhero masks. My son, for example, one day told me, Mummy, I would like to be a ninja. So we quickly made a ninja mask. This summer, he wanted to be a dog. So my mum's an art teacher, so we created a slightly more sophisticated dog mask. You can use sunglasses to get the students engaged, okay? We have lots of different sunglasses. And of course, the hat. And I love doing stories about witches for Halloween, okay? And I've created a whole alter ego. And well, actually, I've reinvented stories for Halloween, Easter, Christmas as well. So if anyone would like a copy of the scripts, I'd be happy to send them. You just need to DM me. Before we begin storytelling, we have the cover description. So perhaps you'd like to type in your favorite activity here of the different activities we've just gone through. We've got the mind maps, okay, spiderweb, which is great, especially for older students, the keyhole cover technique, making predictions with the key words. We've got the 20 questions, filling in the blanks, inventing headlines, creating the why web or the performance. So let's just try and open the chats and see. Oh gosh, yeah, okay, there's a whole big message there about teaching young learners. So yeah, I can't actually see favorite activities, but we're going to move on to, oh yeah, someone, Marina, likes the keyhole technique. Someone else says, keep it up. Yeah, lots of ideas. Sorry for you can watch it again on catch up, okay? Inventing headlines. Yeah, that's another of my favorite. And of course, my all-time favorite is the drama, okay? Oh, I've gone back again. So now for the after storytelling. I'm afraid, sorry about the order, because I would prefer to do during and then after, but if not, it's not bad storytelling techniques. So you've finished doing the storytelling and you can create a poster. You can either do this on a piece of paper in the classroom or digitally using a platform such as Canva. So for example, we have conclusion about Cinderella, the perfect end to a terrific tale. Correcting false information. Okay, so we have, for example, Cinderella is treated kindly by her ugly sisters. So no, we would actually type in Cinderella is mistreated by her ugly sisters. And then you also have the beep or gap fill activity. So Cinderella is beep. And of course, the word would be mistreated by her ugly sisters. Oops, move it. Doesn't want to move on. So then we have debate time, rewriting the story in a new location. So we have, for example, Cinderella's in Sydney. There's an amazing story called Snow White in New York, a great story for rewriting. And if you need ideas of how to do this, writing a sequel, so you could write a sequel about it. Oh, sorry, I missed out the debate time as well. Were Cinderella's sisters kind to her? How could they treat her better? Then we have the newspaper review. So you write the little summary in the newspaper, test the teacher. Students love that. Who was the main character in the story? So the teacher has to guess, it was Little Red Riding Hood. Could the main character have acted differently? You can make a play, of course. So yet again, during lockdown, I created the retelling of The Enormous Carrot, or an adaptation of The Enormous Turnip. So I have, again, this enormous carrot puppet that I had, and I dressed up as all the different characters. So digital storytelling is a great way to create modern techniques. Then after storytelling, we can, your favorite activities again. So we've got the posters, correcting false information, the beep gap fill, debates, the new location rewrite, writing sequels, newspaper review, testing the teacher, or making a play. And now during storytelling, you can look at the images and brainstorm, make labels. This is a simple activity from the British Council webpage where we're labeling Little Red Riding Hood, for example. You can make a story map. I did a retelling of the story How to Catch a Star by Oliver Jeffers. So I thought, oh, a constellation would be a great way to create our story map. You have to tick the words you hear. So, for example, the story of Little Red Riding Hood, or you can also make your own story maps on Canva, for example. Wolf, granny. However, in the story of Little Red Riding Hood, we don't hear the word insect. Okay, or we hear big, help, woodcutter, but not the word dancer. Okay, so you can create a little test for the students. Picture opinions, so you can look at the cover and see what you think of the different images during the storytelling. You can predict the dialogue, again, another British Council activity for Little Red Riding Hoods. We can order the sentences. So again, on British Council, here we have the ordering the sentences activity. Okay. And then you can make a parallel text, okay? A bit like, for example, Snow White in New York, or make a quiz for the students and perform the dialogue. So here, for example, I don't know if you can guess what we are saying here, another video story I created during lockdown. Can anyone guess this sentence? Let's see. Oh gosh, it's not. Yes, well done, Corinne. What big eyes you've got, Grandma. And then we have all the better to see you with. Okay. Oops. And so there, just to recap the during activities, we've got the image brainstorm, making the story map, ticking the words you hear, picture opinions. Oh gosh, I've just made that enormous, so I can't read anything. Predicting the dialogue, ordering the sentences, writing a parallel text, making a quiz, or performing the dialogue. Okay. And a quick recap there of all the different activities we can do. Okay. So you can select your favorites there. And now moving on to digital storytelling. So we have the UN's digital story, we have the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So if you saw the plenary session, you'll be familiar with quality education, the goal number 4. So looking to protect our students from AI, but including AI in education, and writing a story. So last year, I became involved in something called Travelling Tales, which is a program developed by Joel Bevans. And we created a digital story with 5 different schools from around the world, and between us the teachers selected the sustainable goal that we were going to be treating. So we did a combination of no poverty and looking for equality. And so we created this story about JJ Jean and the Magic Kings. So the students produced the story. Joelle gives it all very, very well structured. So you begin with the story mountain, and each teacher, one creates the beginning of the story, the second one creates. So we work on the beginning, the build up, the problem, the resolution, and the ending. Okay, so it's a great way to work the stories, and you can find a link if you are interested in joining. October is a good moment to join the Travelling Tales because it's now up and running, and then your last year, for example, our story was then posted online for Christmas. So you can try and find our story if you're interested in that. Okay. So our story, for example, my part of the story ended with the three kings, because that's part of Spanish culture. So it's very useful to unite culture in the language classroom. So another activity is, oh, so I forgot to mention as well, during storytelling, for example, the students love laughing at the idea of the smartest giant's trousers falling down, okay, for the sustainable goals as well. Working about the environment, The Trouble with Dragons by Debbie Glory is an amazing book. And here we have comparing Little Red Riding Hood with Pretty Salma. So we have the French folktale compared with the African folktale. So you can find them on the globe or on the map. And then you can create a Venn diagram. You can apply my bad techniques as you do the storytelling. You can have cultural discussions about the clothes, the food, the folktale, the Anansi that appears in the story Pretty Salma. You can talk about perspective, about the characters' behaviors and emotions, and come to different conclusions. So here, for example, a Venn diagram. We have, if you're familiar with the Venn diagram, you have two circles and the things that are different, and the overlapping center are the things that are the same. So in the story of Little Red Riding Hood, we have the red cape. However, in the story of Pretty Salma, you have a blue scarf and a stripe in a tama, which is a wraparound skirt. Excuse my language there if I didn't pronounce that correctly. In Little Red Riding Hood, she's visiting her granny. And in Pretty Salma, the main character is on her way to market for her granny. In Little Red Riding Hood, we meet a wolf, and in Pretty Salma, we meet a dog. In Little Red Riding Hood, the woodcutter scares the wolf away, whereas in Pretty Salma, it's the granddad dressed up as the Anansi folktale hero, which scares the dog away. However, in common, both of them are carrying a basket. Both of them are tricked by a cunning animal, and their stories warn us not to talk to strangers. And at the end, they are both saved by a male hero. Okay, however, should it always be a male hero? Gender roles in fairy tales. What can students learn? Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold here. Gender stereotype identification. We can look at the different stereotypes. For example, Snow White. Why is it the woman who has to do the cooking and cleaning at the Seven Dwarfs cottage, and why do they have to be messy? Exploration of non-traditional characters. So we have wonderful stories like The Paper Bag Princess, The Tale of Tam Lin, Fairy Tales for Fearless Girls, Brave, Meredith, okay, all these new non-traditional characters, okay, where we have breaking the stereotypes, new ways to examine the stories, discussion of gender expectations, the equality and promotion of inclusivity, which is so important, and respect, empathy, and understanding. We really need to work on these, and by doing this, you can work on your gender roles in fairy tales. Okay, so now I created during my master's a lesson plan for working on gender roles in fairy tales. So we begin with our 5 W's, which are, of course, the question words. So why? The objective would be to discuss gender roles and equality, develop communicative, written, and critical thinking skills through the use of folk and fairy tales. Who? So this particular unit is addressed at 10 to 11-year-old students with a B1 level of English. However, it can be adapted to different age groups. What? So my particular school works on inquiry-based learning, or you could do project-based learning as well. Where? So we often tend to think that lessons have to take place in the classroom. However, you can work in the school library. the IT room, the playground. If you've seen my previous talk on the poetry slams, I'm also the lead for outdoor learning at my school. So we need to promote more and more working outside as well. When? So this particular unit is a 6-week unit, and the dates here fit in perfectly because we begin on the 8th of March with International Women's Day. So we talk about the importance, the role of the women, and we end on the 23rd of April for World Book Day. So we conclude with our big performance. So now we can examine the 3 different parts. So the first 2 weeks, we would work on the presentation, the props, the images. So for example, you have, I don't know if you're familiar with the mystery box. So you can open the mystery box and bring out your props. Oh, sorry. Oh. And then we have Vladimir Prop, a Russian author, created a character analysis. So we can get the students to examine this different character analysis and do research about different folk and fairy tales within groups. Week 3 and 4, we can present and evaluate the different stories. And then part 3, we plan and prepare a performance of the story. So in this particular case, my older students at my school, I love collaborative learning can also occur between teachers, and I love getting other teachers on board to work on my crazy products and ideas. So for example, Miss Sarah, I love you. So she got her students to create stories, and then her classes performed them to my 4-year-old students for World Book Day. Teamwork. So now just a quick look. We have props character analysis. We have the villain. So who could the villain be? So we have the wicked stepmother, the helper, the fairy godmother, the dispatcher, Buttons, the hero, Prince Charming, the donor, the mice and the pumpkin, the princess, Cinderella, and the false hero, the ugly sisters. Okay, so that brings us to an end. Sorry about the speed there, but I had a lot to tell you. Do you believe in the storytelling's potential to transform language education? I hope that you're all replying yes, yes, of course. Thank you, Karine. Yes, 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 absolutely. That was Beanish. Very good, Beanish. Well, I hope your name's like that. Totally yes. Okay, of course I do, Mohammed, sure. From Hannah there. And which of these will you be putting into practice next week? Because there's nothing better than learning knowledge and applying it. So we have A, the storytelling icebreakers, B, why do we tell stories in the language classroom? C, the bad storytelling techniques. I hope that you can at least take 2 of them away today. D, who is going to be a real risk taker and join the digital storytelling to promote Sustainable Development Goals program. E, the gender and cultural roles within folktales, and takeaways from the Q&A. I'm sure that I'm going to be taking away lots from your questions today. And as I say, any questions that remain unanswered, please contact me. So if you're interested in the traveling tales, we have that here, okay, the link, and then here are the different references I have mentioned. And thank you for listening. And this is the moment, if you want my LinkedIn address, here you have it. And Cass back to join us. And yeah, we have very few questions now, I imagine.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Lucy. That was great. And so many ideas. I think everybody's like, wow, you've given everybody lots of ideas for their classes this week. So that's absolutely brilliant, and loads of really practical ideas. So thanks so much. We've got a little bit of time for some questions. We've got lots of questions. So I'm just gonna throw some at you and see if we can get through some. So we've got yeah, brilliant, thank you. So we've got a question from Ma in the chat who's saying, hi Lucy, aside from natural talent, observation and experience, is there any basic storytelling training that you can recommend? So for people who want to improve their storytelling skills, maybe some teachers who don't use it much, is there anything you can recommend?
For sure, a great question. The first thing I recommend is practicing the storytelling on your own, either in front of the mirror nowadays you have the great idea that you can practice with the television. Choose easy, simple stories, especially to begin with. Not all stories work. In fact, don't get disappointed if you tell a story and it doesn't work. And because maybe in the following group, it works perfectly. Okay, so don't get disheartened because it can be hard. And I'm not the best storyteller in the world. I also have my moments in the classroom that I'm trying to tell the story and it doesn't work at all. Another important thing is to maybe use a song. I use the song, Everybody Come to Me. Sorry, my voice is terrible. I'm an awful singer. But if you sing yourself, it really works. So come to me, everybody come to me. It's time for a story. Or for example,
Lovely.
the end of the story, shh, everybody listen. So yeah, hands on
I
knees.
love that. I love that
Yeah.
when I hear you're singing that, and it makes me really want to hear a story from you. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So
Mhm.
practice really is a question of sort of
Yeah.
trying things out, I guess, with your different
Yes.
groups as well, and just
Yeah.
feeling more confident. Okay,
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, we've got another point here. Mohammed in the chat is
Mhm.
asking, do you think adults would be interested in these techniques as much as
Yes.
kids? Mm,
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, my most successful moments with storytelling has been with adults and teacher training courses, because obviously
mm.
the adults tend to realize when you say, listen to me, I'm going to tell a story, then they tend to listen. But it's not always the case. Sometimes adults can be the worst
Yeah,
students.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I've applied the techniques to adults. And I think as well, if you offer a prize or a game, we love to bring out our inner child. And it's such a shame,
Mm,
Ken Robinson, I'm a big fan of his killing creativity, society, and we need to stop killing creativity in the classroom
I
and
guess as well,
encourage
storytelling.
stories.
Yeah, I guess it's a nice way to get adults to tell their
Hmm.
own stories as well, isn't it, in the
Yes.
classroom,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
good thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We've also had a sort of question from Ayele. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Mhm.
And they say this is great, but it's very challenging to have the resources in our context because we saw that we're using lots of
Mhm.
props. Those are
Yeah.
fantastic props. Um, how can you make it as funny, but without those resources? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Yes, it is. In fact, one thing that I didn't mention is the use of TPR. Our body is the best
Mm,
resource you have. And you can do a lot. For example, you can be telling the story and you can say, every time you hear the word frog, touch your head. Every time you hear the word wolf, growl like a wolf. Okay, so you don't need resources at all. I mean,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of resources, as you've seen, but the only resource you need is your voice, which obviously for me is a problem at the end of the week. You notice that I always end up losing my voice at the end of the week. So yeah, you need your voice, you need the TPR. I was about to mention, in fact, something I forgot to say. Another of the great introductories for storytelling, the story of your name, is to get adults or the students to act the story behind their name. So, or
Mm,
their life story. And so all you need there is your bodies. And so, yes, thank you for
yeah.
reminding me that I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay.
Mhm.
We also had a question on Facebook from Jessam who's asking about mixed ability or very large
Mhm.
classes. How can you sort of do storytelling if you've got a huge group and especially if they're mixed ages or mixed
Yeah,
abilities?
yeah. I think mixed stages is not such a problem.
Mm,
Mixed ability, obviously, in fact, this year, my particular class is very challenging. So I think you have to try and ignore some of the behaviors. And for example, I have a student who doesn't want to participate in the class. So in the end, I've agreed with the parents that we're just going to allow him to sit quietly doing his own little thing while I engage the rest of the class. So yeah, I do know that it is very difficult working with mixed ability groups. And yeah,
mm,
but I think as well, quite often stories in particular, and finding stories that involve and engage the students. So you find out, you do like your quick learner need assessments, and you find out if they like superheroes. So you engage with your class
mhm.
through their interests, and that helps.
Yeah, I mean, there's a completely wide
Mm.
range of stories that you could choose, I suppose. So it's
Yes.
finding
Oh,
something
yes.
that they find
Yeah.
interesting. On that same note, Zenny, I think it's Zenny in the chat is saying, I don't always find the right stories. Can you give us some tips on how to create your own? You mentioned creating your own stories.
Oh, yes.
Any quick
Yeah.
tips for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, creating your own stories, I think, first of all, find a story that you like yourself, and then you adapt the text, particularly using stories with a good rhyming pattern, like we're going on a bear hunt. You can adapt that to anything. The other day, for example, I didn't mention, but we went on a leaf hunt. So yeah, you take your students on a leaf hunt. The other day, I do drama with my students at the end of a unit, and the students performed in the Christmas play, and the 5-year-olds performed the song of "You Better Watch Out, You Better Not Cry," and I do the story of Little Red Riding Hood. And so all of a sudden, my students, I showed them the image of the big bad wolf, and one of them said, "You better not shout, you better not cry." So we adapted the whole story, and you can get such inspirational ideas from your students. Listen to your students, listen to their needs, and adapt to what they would like.
Yeah, I'm sure that's great. I'm afraid we've run out of time. We've got loads more questions. I think that people had a lot of questions for you.
Contact me.
Yeah, exactly. So you can contact Lucy. But thanks so
And
much, because there was loads of great ideas there, and storytelling is such a great way to engage students, and it's so fun.
it
And
is.
it was great to see your ideas. So thank you so much. Thanks to everyone else as well for being here in this session. Thanks to Joe, who's moderating, and we've got Naomi on Facebook
Have
too.
fun.
Have fun, yes. Yeah, so don't go away. We've got a 15-minute break, and we've got another session coming up shortly, which is Mohammed Nabil, who's talking about why teach grammar communicatively. So that's going to be a great session as well for everybody. So we'll hope to see you all there. And thanks very much. Happy World Teachers Day, and see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.